What is good, everybody? These are my week 5 picks and predictions. A 9-7 week for me, so a little underwhelming, but in my tournament, I did move up one spot, I believe, but a lot of work to do to get back into it, man. But did not include the record this year, this week. I'll do it, next week for sure, but just forgot to include it right now. But in this video, I wanted to talk about every NFL matchup and who I have winning. I'll tell you a little bit about why. So let's get into it without further ado. Let's start off with Thursday Night Football, man. We have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Atlanta Falcons in NFC South rivalry. Let's look at the Bucs, man. They come off a big win against the Eagles, 33-16. Baker Mayfield had a great game. He threw for over 300 yards, and he had a couple touchdowns as well. The defense looked great. Jalen Hurts got sacked 6 times. The Bucs, they bounced back from a tough Week 3 loss against the Denver Broncos, and now they look like one of NFC's premier teams. So then we look at the Falcons, man. They beat the Saints 26-24. They were gifted pretty much 2 touchdowns. One was with a muffed punt, and another was a pick six. The offense struggled. I think they ran for under 100 rushing yards. Kirk Cousins, he had some accuracy issues, but they did manage to get some big plays when needed. But both teams coming off wins. They just managed to get the job done. Especially, Young Hoku is obviously a great kicker. So the defense, with the way they looked against the Eagles, man, against that offense, I mean, I think that they really took it to them and announced themselves. The Falcons, they seemed a little bit more fortunate with the win they had. I mean, don't get me wrong, Baker Mayfield, he sometimes does struggle against some of NFL's top defenses. Right now, I think the way that the Bucs are looking, I have to go Tampa Bay here. I'm gonna pick Tampa Bay to pull off a road win in Atlanta in a divisional game. I think the Falcons definitely could make a statement, but I'm going to roll with Tampa Bay. They just have strong overall play, and they seem very, complete on both sides of the ball, man. And Baker Mayfield was playing at a great level, with the exception of Week 3. So give me the Bucs here over the Falcons. Next up, we go to the London game at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. We have the New York Jets versus the Minnesota Vikings. So we look at the Jets, man. They lost to the Broncos 10-9 in an ugly game. Aaron Rodgers got sacked 5 times. Jets just could not convert on third down. Denver's offense got held to 60 passing yards, but they just couldn't do anything with their defensive, performance. They struggled to score, and then we look at the Vikings, man. They beat Aaron Rodgers' former team, the Green Bay Packers, 31-29. They came out strong in the first half. I think Sam Darnold threw 3 touchdowns in the first half. I mean, they nearly blew the lead. I mean, they lost by 2, but they were up 28-0 at the half. That shows a little bit of weakness to me in the second half because maybe they have a tough time finishing in this game. I don't know. But especially Aaron Rodgers' history against the Vikings. I think he's 17-11 against them, 17-11-1 or something. But the Vikings offense, they look pretty explosive early in Week 4. The Jets have been struggling, particularly on offense, especially last week. I think the Jets' inability to capitalize on their defense, I just think it's going to hurt them again, and I think Minnesota's going to try to bring the heat and against a team that the Vikings that can certainly start fast. And while Rodgers does have a good history against the Vikings, I was thinking about giving the Jets the edge here, but I got to go with Minnesota here. They're just too hot right now, and they have better offensive firepower, I think. And I think if they start fast, they'll be able to roll. So give me the Vikings here over the Jets. Now we go to the 1 p.m. slate of games, guys. We got the Carolina Panthers at the Chicago Bears. Taking a look at the Panthers, man. We got our first win against them. Andy Dalton actually played pretty decently, but that interception that he threw to Von Bell, that kind of hurt the Panthers' chances of coming back. The failed fake punt as well. We can talk about that as well. That was just a great play by Dejon Anthony. They just couldn't stop the run against us. I mean, that's what really derailed them from having a chance to win. I mean, they came a little bit closer towards the end. It was 31-14, then it was 31-24. But the run game just kind of busted all over them. So then we look at the Bears, man. They won a defensive game against, the Rams, 24-18. Stafford got sacked 3 times, and they had 2 turnovers as well. DeAndre Swift had a 165 total yards, had a touchdown as well. The Bears defense, I mean, they were just too strong in Week 4, man. The running game looked very potent. The Panthers have been playing a lot better with Andy Dalton at the helm, but as far as this game, the Bears look prepared to take this one, man. I'm going to go with the Chicago Bears to win another defensive shootout. They have They're going to make a little fewer mistakes than I think Andy Dalton, the Panthers, will do. And let's not forget, this is Andy Dalton's former team, so they may know him, he may know them, whatever it is. But a more balanced offense and a stronger defense, I'm going to give the edge to the Bears in this one. Next up, we got the Cleveland Browns heading to the nation's capital to play the Washington Commanders. Let's look at the Cleveland Browns, man. They lost to the Raiders 20-16. They kind of got robbed in that holding call, but I think Amari Cooper, that was called back due to holding, like I said. Just injuries have been a total concern for the Browns. The offensive line has been an absolute joke. A missed extra point as well in that game. Deshaun Watson, he threw a really bad interception. It was just fully riddled with mistakes, man. So that was tough for them. Then we look at the Commanders. They dominated the Cardinals, 42-14. Another nearly flawless game from Jaden Daniels. He threw for 233 yards. He rushed for one. He threw for another, and they're off. The Washington now has back-to-back games again with 200 yards of rushing, and their defense has been playing big time, man. So I think Jaden Daniels and the Commanders, especially being at home, coming home especially after two huge road victories, that's just going to be a great feeling for them. And then Cleveland is just struggling, man. They're dealing with mistakes, injuries. I think Nick Chubb is supposed to return for practice Wednesday. But Washington right now, they just look like the more complete team. And actually, this is my lock of the week. No, it's not because I don't like the Browns. It's because I just think that Washington coming home is a big momentum booster for them. And Cleveland, just the way they're struggling right now and just the overall mess that they're in right now at 1-3. It makes more sense for me to pick Washington. I think I just have to right now. So give me the Commanders here over the Cleveland Browns. Now we go to an AFC East matchup. We got the Miami Dolphins against the New England Patriots. So let's start off with Miami, man. They got absolutely embarrassed by the Titans, 31-12. Their third quarterback starting of the season. The offense just looked so lost. Through the first three quarters, they only got 84 yards. 84 yards. Special teams did not do good. 3 and outs were just a key thing in that game. Their defense couldn't hold up either. Then we look at the Patriots. They got blown out by the 49ers. A game where the offense just could not get moving. They couldn't slow down San Francisco one bit. Jacoby Brissett, he had a terrible game. He threw a pick six early, and it was just done by halftime. Their biggest highlight was their kicker hitting a 63-yard field goal. That was really the only thing that was going for the Patriots. Both teams are coming off blowout losses. The Dolphins just look very disorganized. The Patriots defense did have some moments against the 49ers at least, but they just couldn't stop the Niners offense, which is still very good. The Dolphins just look straight up a mess, dude. I'm not going to lie. Without Tua, and I think his early case scenario is not coming back till week 8, so that's a big loss for the Dolphins and Tua. At least the Patriots did have their moments, and I just think they've been playing a little better recently than the Miami Dolphins have, even though they've lost 3. But I'm actually gonna roll with the New England Patriots here. I think they're a little better in recent play, and we can talk about history all we want as well, especially considering Miami's history in New England. But regardless of all that, I'm gonna just pick New England. I think that they're just looking better coming into this game. So give me the Patriots over the Dolphins. Now we go to another 1 p.m. game. We got the Indianapolis Colts against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Another 1 p.m. game. Let's look at the Colts, man. They won 27-24 over the Pittsburgh Steelers. Thank you, Indy. With backup quarterback Joe Flacco. He threw for a couple touchdowns, and they kept Justin Fields in check for the most part in the first half. They sacked him 4 times. They had a forced fumble in the second half as well. They made some key stops on 4th down to seal the win. The Jags, they lost to the Texans 24-20. Trevor Lawrence had a bad game. He threw for just 169 yards. And he completed less than 55% of his passes. So that's a bad sign. Just wasn't clutch in the fourth quarter one bit. The Jags, their offensive struggles continue, and they still were in that game, but they just couldn't finish. And that's just been the key for them all season, the issue with them. That's why they're 0-4. And I think that Anthony Richardson has all the capabilities to be a good quarterback. Even before he got hurt, he looked okay. Flacco taking over could be a booster for them, but also you have to keep in mind Indy's history in Jacksonville. I don't know if they broke it, but there was a stat I think that they've won maybe 1 game since 2014 in the last decade in Jacksonville. Jacksonville is just due for a win, and I am going to tell you this is my upset of the week. I'm going to pick the Jags to get their first win of 2024. They're dealing with huge offensive issues. I mean, Trevor Lawrence he has to turn it around quickly, and the Jags defense has to come to play against that Colts offensive line, because if they don't, they're going to lose. But I just think that even though Indy's a more reliable team on both sides of the ball, I just think the Jags they're just due for a win against not an elite team in the Colts. So I think this is the best chance they got in a while to get their first win, especially against a team that they've had a pretty big edge over in the stadium. So I'm going to actually pick the Jags to get the upset here. I might be tripping. I might change my pick, but right now, a divisional game against a team that they have good history with in the stadium, I think this is the best chance for them to get a win. I definitely don't see them going winless, obviously. So give me the Jags here over the Colts. Now we go to Houston. We got the Buffalo Bills at the Houston Texans. So we look at the Bills, man. They got absolutely demolished by the Ravens, 35-10. Their defense gave up 271 rushing yards, including Derrick Henry, an 87-yard touchdown. Josh Allen couldn't get anything going. He had one good play. I think he threw one to Gabe Davis. But the Bills just looked exposed, especially going up against weaker teams. I've never seen a team get crowned this much for not winning, anything, or only advancing to one AFC championship. But I mean, I'm not hating on the Bills, but I'm just saying, like, we have to see how they do. I feel like before, we comment on their chances for a Super Bowl. I mean, they've had so many chances to go, but they definitely have a chance. I mean, we look at the Texans. They beat the Jags 24-20, a late touchdown pass from C.J. Stroud. Stroud, as usual, was clutch in the fourth quarter. Nico Collins had a big game. He had over 150 yards. He had a touchdown as well. The defense had an issue with the run game, so Buffalo, they've got to get that going, man. They have to get that going. But the Texans, with that fourth quarter performance from C.J. Stroud, they almost lost, but the Buffalo just looked completely outplayed by the Ravens. If Buffalo can't fix their run defense, Houston's offense is going to have to exploit them like crazy. They're coming off a clutcher win. They've had a better offensive showing. I think both these teams are very elite, but I'm rolling with the home team here. I'm going with the Houston Texans to win. I think they're going to win a pretty good game, but I think they'll be able to pull away with a win. I think that they know how to finish games now. They have, right now, the upper hand in the MVP race, and C.J. Stroud over Josh Allen. I mean, and while they did struggle, it is a divisional rivalry game against the Jags, so you can expect them to struggle. I think they will struggle, of course, against the Bills because the Bills are a very good team, but I do think the Texans will come out on top. So I'm going to take the Texans here over the Bills. Sunday, we got my game. We have the Baltimore Ravens at the Cincinnati Bengals, an AFC North rivalry, the first AFC North matchup of the season. So we look at the Ravens. They come off a win against the Bills, 35-10. Just talked about them. 271 rushing yards for Derrick Henry. Him and Lamar Jackson as a rushing attack is just unstoppable. The defense also was really good. I mean, they sacked Josh Allen 3 times. They forced a fumble as well. Then you look at the home team. We beat the Panthers 34-24 with Joe Burrow. He led a balanced offense. I made a video on that. I mean, 4 different receivers had at least 3 catches. The Bengals offense put up over 370 yards. So you got to love that if you're a Bengals fan. Granted how bad or good the Panthers defense is. I mean, the defense made some key stops at the beginning. I mean, that everybody remembers that goal line stuff that Chris Jenkins had. Welcome back. But the issue just the way they struggled early in the game. I mean, how did the Panthers drive so quickly down the field, like on their first drive? The defense has been kind of, sluggish recently, and I just don't know because CTB is not having a great year. I mean, he's got to really step it up for us to have a chance. And he's just got to just shut up and play. I mean, that's what the mindset this team should have. I mean, they're here. They had this record for a reason. They're 1-3. Obviously, they did win, and this is the same position that we were in last year. So you can expect a little bit of, confidence from Bengals fans that we'll be fine. And the Ravens, they just look like they look like they're finding their groove, man. I mean, they look like a juggernaut. I mean, both offensively and defensively, they just played very well. So, and I'm gonna tell you because the thing is, I've just not seen the sense of urgency from the Bengals. I don't see a sense of urgency from them to, they should have had that sense of urgency in week 2 against KC. Almost freaking won it. But why did you have to drop week 1, man. I don't think we're understanding that these games early in the season can come back to bite us in the ass. It's not like, oh, you win, you move on. No, these games matter. Do we have the awareness to even pull this off? Do we really think that Zach Taylor is aware of the situation? Obviously he's aware, but it's is this the team to really climb themselves out of a hole? I just haven't seen enough yet. So, are we going to win this game? Sorry, guys. I'm going with the Baltimore Ravens to actually pull off the win. On the road, they dominated both offensively and defensively last week. I don't think they're going to dominate. I think it's going to be a close contest. Right now, the Ravens just have better all-around team play, so I have to pick the Baltimore Ravens to unfortunately pull off a road win over the Cincinnati Bengals. Hate to say it, but I'm going to still be repping my guys as I always do. And I'll still be hyped for Ravens week. I mean, it's one of the the Ravens week is always hype. I mean, AFC North rivals are always, the games always hit different, but just because I'm a fan doesn't mean I'm not a realist. So I'm going to pick the Baltimore Ravens to unfortunately beat us. Now we go to the 4:05 p.m. slate, guys. We got the Las Vegas Raiders at the Denver Broncos. Let's look at the Raiders, man. They won 20-16 over the Browns despite missing Devontae Adams and Max Crosby. Cleveland had 3 points after the opening drive, and the rushing attack just racked up 150 yards. I mean, their defense held Cleveland to 3 after that opening drive. So, you look at the Broncos, I mean, they won 10-9, a defensive battle against the Jets. Bo Nix, he threw for only 60 yards. The Broncos' defense was dominant, though. They sacked Aaron Rodgers, 5 times? They held the Jets to, I think, 4 of 17 on third down. So, both teams are coming off wins, man. This was actually kind of tough. I'm telling you right now, this is probably the game that I have the most trouble with because I'm definitely gonna consider switching the pick. But right now, since I'm in doubt, I'll just pick the home team here. I mean, the Broncos, their defense, I'm not gonna count them out. Being in the mile high as well. I mean, the Raiders' defense is no slouch either. If they can't move the ball well, the Raiders' defense is gonna take advantage. So. The Raiders showed a little bit more balance, so this is one that I definitely could change. I'm not saying I will, but I could. But since I'm in doubt here, I'm just going to go with the home team. Why not? Next up, we got the Arizona Cardinals at the San Francisco 49ers. Let's look at the Cardinals. They got crushed by the Commanders, 42-14. Kyler Murray led them on a touchdown on the opening drive, and after that, everything went away. Defense, they gave up over 200 rushing yards. Yeah, just the second straight game that they've done that, unfortunately. So, then we look at the Niners, man. They dominated the Patriots 30-13. Their defense just completely showed this entire show. I mean, 6 sacks, a pick 6. Jordan Mason, he did step up against Christian McCaffrey. He ran for, I think, over 100 yards. He had a touchdown as well. The Niners, their offense has been struggling, but they didn't need to be perfect going up against the New England Patriots, obviously. They're going to need to play a lot better here on offense, especially against a division rival. The Cardinals, I mean, they kind of fell apart, especially on defense. San Francisco just looks a lot more complete offensively and defensively. I think that they should handle Arizona comfortably, but I'm also not going to sleep on Arizona because it's a divisional game, and we've seen these two teams go head-to-head a lot. But give me the Niners in this one. I think they're going to cover and win 28-14. So, yeah, I'm going to pick the Niners with a dominant defense, a balanced offense. I think that they can, clean up some of the things they made last week and build on, that win against the New England Patriots. So, give me the Niners over the Cardinals in this one. Next up, we got the New York Giants at the Seattle Seahawks. Let's look at the Giants, man. They lost to the Cowboys 20-15 in a game where their run game got completely shut down. Malik Neighbors, he was the lone bright spot. I think he got a concussion, though, unfortunately. But the Giants got 5 field goals in a game where they struggled to finish so many drives. Then we look at Seattle. They lost 42-29 to the Lions despite having over 500 yards of total offense. There was a lot of tone setters. I mean, DK Metcalf's fumble as well. Geno Smith, he threw for over 300 yards as well, but the defense was just picked apart by Jared Goff. The defense just didn't do their part. They showed their fight, but unfortunately they just couldn't finish the comeback. So the Seahawks put a ton of offense, but they got to clean up those mistakes. And while the Giants' offense struggled and relied heavily, I think Seattle, if they can avoid the turnovers and clean up some of the mistakes that they had, which is definitely doable, I think they should have one problem winning this game. I think that Seattle is going to win this game. I think that it's going to be a close game. I think that, both teams, they're kind of starving for a win right now. Obviously, Seattle coming off last week. I mean, both teams coming off deflating losses against. So anyway, I mean that's just the way I look at this matchup. I'm gonna pick the Giants or the Seahawks over the Giants rather. Next up, we got the Green Bay Packers at the Los Angeles Rams. Let's look at the Packers, man. They lost to the Vikings by 2, a messy start. They missed 2 field goals. Jordan Love threw 3 interceptions. He showed some flashes of greatness, though. He had over 100 or 350 yards. The Packers, they almost made a comeback, but they unfortunately just fell short. Then we look at the Rams, man. They lost to the Bears 24-18. Matthew Stafford turned the ball over twice. Rams just could not convert in the red zone as well. Their defense just couldn't do much to stop their offense either. I mean, they both looked inconsistent overall. I mean, both teams are coming off tough losses. I think the Packers showed a little bit more fight in their recent comeback. Granted, it is against a rival, so, you can expect that. But they just seem to have, like, a higher offensive ceiling. I mean, if Love can cut down on the mistakes, which I have no doubt that a game under his belt that he will do, I think that the Packers fight, I guess, in their near comeback is going to have a better offensive game than the Rams. So we look at the Rams' red zone struggles. I mean, they definitely have a struggle as well. So Jordan Love's going to have to take advantage of that. But I'm going to roll with the more explosive offense in this matchup. They have some issues. Yes, they're going to clean it up. Matt LaFleur, I don't know how good of a coach that he really is. I mean, we got to see. But I'm gonna pick the Green Bay Packers to pull off a win here. Sunday Night Football, guys. We got the Dallas Cowboys at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's look at the Cowboys, man. They beat the Giants 20-15. They figured out how to stop the run. New York only had 26 rushing yards. Didn't do much after halftime, yes, but Dak Prescott, he did make 2-3 touchdown passes. 55-yard catch to C.D. Lamb, I believe. And, we look at the Steelers, man. They lost to the Colts 27-24. Justin Fields, he showed the good and bad side of him. I mean, he threw for over 300 yards. He rushed for a couple touchdowns, but he took 4 sacks and had a fumble sack in his own territory. That was huge on the last drive. Made it 4th and 17, I believe. So, yeah, I mean, the Steelers, they just could not contain Joe Flacco, and I heard that Tomlin didn't even have a plan for him, but, they gave up 2 critical 4th down conversions as well. They just couldn't contain. So, the Cowboys defense does seem to have it figured out, but they're going to have a tough task, especially against that Steeler defense on the road as well on offense. Just seeing the way that Pittsburgh played last week, especially in the first half, I think it's going to trigger them to want to come out here with a bang. So I hope I'm wrong, man, but I'm actually going to pick the Pittsburgh Steelers to beat the Dallas Cowboys here. I think that, they're obviously at home. The Cowboys are a big rival of the Steelers. Their defense struggled. I mean, the Steelers' defense did struggle against a backup quarterback. Granted, Joe Flacco, going back to his Baltimore days, he's always killed the Steelers. If the Cowboys keep playing like they did against the Giants, they could win this. Unfortunately, though, I think that the Steelers are a new beast than the Giants, unfortunately. So, give me the Steelers in this one to beat the Dallas Cowboys. Last game, we got the New Orleans Saints heading to Kansas City to play the Chiefs. Let's look at the Saints, man. They lost 26-24 to the Falcons. They gifted them 2 touchdowns, like I said. A muff punt, a pick 6. Derek Carr just threw a really bad interception on that one, and the Saints just could not overcome any mistakes at all, unless you want to count the end where it ended up biting them in the butt. But then we look at the Chiefs, man. They won 17-10 against the Chargers in a game where their defense absolutely carried the Chiefs' offense. They just couldn't get anything going for much of the game. I mean, they held the Chargers of all teams to only 55 rushing yards. Justin Herbert had fewer than 180. I don't know if he's 100%. I don't think so. But, yeah, I mean, I think that the Saints, it's just the mistakes that they made, I think it just killed their chances. So, I mean, I think Kansas City's defense is very, they can be vulnerable, but they're still very good. I mean, their offense was vulnerable last week, of course. So we'll see how the Saints defense reacts to that. But I think given that KC's defense was so strong in week 4, I think that the Chiefs can win this offensively or defensively because they have Patrick Mahomes obviously on one side, and then obviously when their defense gets rolling, it'll be all right. But I'm gonna pick the Kansas City Chiefs to get the win here, and they're gonna remain, I believe, the only undefeated team in the league. But Yeah, I gotta pick Kansas City here, man. I think that they're, kind of they're in prime time, obviously at home. They'll get some of the calls, just what Kansas City does. But yeah, I'm gonna pick the Chiefs in this one, and that's gonna do it with my NFL picks. I appreciate all you guys watching this. It means a lot. Look forward to doing some of these again next week, and hopefully I have a better week. I'll have a Bengals Ravens preview out tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. But other than that, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.